It's 1988, a garage in Los Angeles. The air smells like leather and gasoline. A man is hunched over a workbench, surrounded by leather hides. He isn't trying to build a fashion label. He's thinking about his motorcycle, and the fact that nothing on the market fits the way it should. His name is Richard Stark. He deals in top-grade leather, not clothing. The man next to him, John Bowman, builds it into gear. Down the bench, a jeweler named Leonard Kamhout is hammering sterling silver into a design that no one realizes will become iconic. They aren't chasing the fashion industry. They're building gear for themselves and the handful of riders who run with them. Over the next 4 decades, it would become one of the most coveted brands in luxury fashion. The garage would become a business estimated to be worth around $1 billion, and that biker gear would evolve into some of the most sought-after luxury products in the world. This is the story of how a biker's solution to a wardrobe problem became chrome hearts. The first real job wasn't a fashion job at all. A low-budget movie called Chopper Chicks in Zombie Town needed leather gear for its cast, bikers, fittingly. Stark and his partners took the job. It wasn't a campaign, it wasn't a launch, it was a costume budget, but it put their work in front of a wider audience than the motorcycle community it came from. Here's where the story gets strange. Richard Stark has told more than one version of how the name came about. One version traces the name back to that film. Another, in a handwritten company history Stark wrote years later, places its origin somewhere else entirely. A private moment, no movie involved. Stark had never fully cleared it up. Maybe that's the point. A famously private brand has never fully settled its own origin story. What's certain is what happened next. The rock musicians, Motley Crue, Guns N' Roses, brands who needed gear that looked like it could survive a stage, not a runway. The riding gear was about to become something else entirely. The cross wasn't delicate or ornate. It's blunt, heavy, and almost crude in its simplicity. The Gothic lettering looked more like something carved into stone than stitched into luxury clothing. Then there was the sterling silver. Through Kamhout's craftsmanship, it became one of the defining materials of the brand. It fit naturally alongside the leather riding gear Chrome Hearts was already producing. Most luxury brands start with a refinement and add edge later, a controlled amount of roughness, dosed in like seasoning. Chrome Hearts ran the process backwards. The materials came first, and they came from a world that existed largely outside the fashion industry. Biker jackets, tour gear, things meant to survive a crash or a stage dive, not a closet. The polish, if you can call it that, came from how well those things were made, not from softening what they looked like. That's why the pieces read as authentic instead of a costume. A fashion house borrowing motorcycle imagery usually smooths the edges to make it easier to wear in entirely different settings. Chrome Hearts kept the edges. The crosses stayed blunt, the lettering stayed harsh. Even as the brand's prices climbed into 5 and 6 figures, the design language never drifted far from its origins. That's the part most luxury brands get backwards. They design something refined, then try to make it feel edgy. Chrome Hearts started with something genuinely rough and never smoothed it out. The roughness wasn't a style choice layered on top of a product. It was the entire product. And nearly 4 decades later, the cross on a $400 t-shirt still looks remarkably similar to the one Kamhout was hammering into silver back in 1988. The brand didn't go looking for the fashion world. The fashion world found it. In the early 1990s, a Los Angeles boutique called Maxfield became one of the first retailers to carry Chrome Hearts. The brand sat among labels that had nothing to do with motorcycle culture. It was a small bet on an unproven name, but the pieces sold, and what began as a modest presence kept growing, from leather to jewelry and beyond, until Chrome Hearts wasn't just stocked at Maxfield. It became one of the store's defining brands, and years later, Chrome Hearts would open its own Los Angeles flagship just across the street. Not long after, the name turned up somewhere even less expected. Bergdorf Goodman, a department store built around old money luxury, now carrying jewelry made from former leather hide dealers who had started working with leather in a Los Angeles garage. Chrome Hearts wasn't building for the fashion industry, and there's little evidence it followed a conventional strategy to get there. No major advertising campaign, no carefully orchestrated luxury rollout. A brand born making biker gear ended up sharing space with the labels it was never designed to compete with. The fashion world came to Chrome Hearts. Chrome Hearts never had to chase it. In 1992, Richard Stark won the CFDA's Accessory Designer of the Year award for Chrome Hearts, one of the fashion industry's most respected honors. Voted on by members of the very industry Stark had spent 4 years building something outside of. According to a 1999 interview, Stark's first reaction wasn't gratitude, it was confusion. He reportedly said he hadn't planned on accepting the award and wasn't very familiar with the CFDA. When the organization had told him he could choose anyone to represent him at the ceremony, he picked his friend Cher. That single moment captures something that would define the next 3 decades of the brand. Chrome Hearts kept winning at a game it refused to play by the rules of. It never built its business around the traditional fashion calendar. There was no runway collections released on a seasonal schedule. There was no advertising, not occasionally, not as a brand on a budget, but as a long-standing philosophy. Stark has said in interviews that he finds the word collab itself faintly absurd, a piece of marketing language that for partnerships, in his telling, used to happen naturally between people that respected each other's work, no press release required. The closest thing to a stated philosophy comes from Lori Lynn Stark, who told WWD in 2019 that the brand could expand production and put Chrome Heart t-shirts on far more people than it currently does. They've chosen not to. Their priority, she says, is less stuff and more focus. While many luxury brands compete for visibility, Chrome Hearts built an empire by becoming almost impossible to find. Somehow that scarcity didn't slow the brand down, it became the engine. By the 2000s, Chrome Hearts had stopped being a brand that musicians discovered. It had become a brand musicians were expected to already know. The list of people photographed in it reads like it was assembled by a committee, except it wasn't. Chrome Hearts went from Guns N' Roses and rock to Drake, Bella Hadid, Travis Scott, Dua Lipa, Rihanna, Central C, across genres, across generations, across entire eras of pop culture that otherwise had nothing to do with each other, all wearing the same cross, the same gothic lettering, the same silver. Very little of it came from a traditional marketing department. Chrome Hearts has never run a traditional ad campaign, and there's little evidence it relied on paid celebrity placement the way many luxury brands do. When public figures show up in it, more often than not they're wearing the piece because they bought it themselves or received it through a personal relationship with the brand, not because of formal sponsorship. That distinction matters more than it sounds like it should. A logo on a celebrity because a brand paid for it is marketing, versus a logo on a celebrity because they chose it themselves, repeatedly, over years, is something closer to belief. One of the brand's earliest high-profile collaborations came in 2002 with the Rolling Stones, custom tour gear, including pieces made for Mick Jagger, and even that came together because Stark admired the band, not because of a pitch deck. It was an unusually direct partnership, but it still wasn't like a typical fashion collaboration. What spread after that wasn't a campaign, it was a habit. The brand kept building something durable enough, distinctive enough, desirable enough that the culture kept choosing it on its own, long after the people who started it stopped having to ask. Today, Chrome Hearts operates dozens of stores across the world. Los Angeles, New York, Tokyo, Hong Kong, Paris. Each one architecturally distinct, each one carrying inventory that often varies from city to city. There's still no e-commerce site selling the full catalog. The brand still doesn't revolve around the traditional fashion calendar. The company has never gone public, never taken on a corporate parent, and according to a report from WWD, only sold a minority stake once, 10%, to a private equity firm in 2019, in a deal that reportedly valued the company at around $1.5 billion. In late 2025, the brand quietly bought a boutique hotel in Malibu, its first confirmed move into hospitality, a category that has nothing to do with leather, silver, or motorcycles. As of this recording, very little else is known about what they plan to do with it. That's consistent with everything else about how the company operates. It moves, and the explanation comes later, if it comes at all. Underneath, one thing has never really changed. Much of what Chrome Hearts sells is still made in its own Hollywood factories rather than outsourced across the world. Leather, jewelry, eyewear, furniture, even much of the clothing passes through the same ecosystem the company had spent decades building itself. In an industry where luxury brands often design in one country, manufacture in another, and assemble somewhere else entirely, Chrome Hearts has kept an unusually large share of the process under its own roof. It costs more, it grows slower, but it also means the company controls most of everything that carries its name. It's still a family business. Richard and Lori Lynn run it together, the way they have since the early 90s, with their children now stepping into roles across design and the brand's public-facing side. In 2022, the CFDA gave the Starks its Jeffrey Bean Lifetime Achievement Award, the same organizations whose first major honor Stark reportedly hadn't even planned on accepting 3 decades earlier. There's a version of this story where a man builds a fashion empire on purpose. That's not this story. Richard Stark built leather gear because nothing on the market fit right. He didn't chase the fashion industry. It found him and awarded him. While others borrow from the visual language he'd helped to define, and he'd kept doing what he had always done, making things himself for the people in front of him and refusing to explain why. Nearly 4 decades later, that refusal has become the brand. Thanks for watching. I have more great content being posted every Thursday at 2 p.m. Please like this video and subscribe if you enjoyed this video and want to see more. Thank you and have a nice day.